It's not about them! It's all about me!
Well, you guys did vote. It's alright. I wanted to make this video for a long time. I just couldn't decide between the celebrities who did like their appearances and those who did not. Hi, I'm Kitty Monk and I'm here to talk to you about South Park. Or more specifically, the topic of celebrities. Not dead celebrities. Some of them are. Not all of them. One of the most notable parts of South Park is their various takes on celebrities, good or bad. After all, South Park is satire, bent on pointing out the idiosyncrasies of modern society, and celebrities are a big part of our society. Many people, including myself, consider being featured on South Park to be one of the highest honors a creative can receive, more than SNL. Ahem, wink. Wink, regardless of whether or not they're making fun of you. However, some celebrities were not thrilled with their portrayals, seeing their appearances as nothing but silly ridicule. So, before I leave Hartford, we're gonna count down the top 10 celebrities who did not like their portrayals on South Park, examine the episode or episodes they were featured in, and their responses, and whether or not they were warranted, and if possible, what Matt and Trey said about it in response. Just to put it out there, there won't be an honorable mention section, so I apologize. Okay, let's discuss. Here are the top 10 celebrities who hated their portrayals on South Park. Oh my god, I gotta cut down on that title.
You're never gonna leave me alone, are you?
It ain't right to take advantage of somebody no matter who they are.
Britney Spears of Britney's new look. Oh boy, this one actually kind of hurts. In Britney's new look, the boys, along with the rest of South Park, if not the whole world, are obsessed with Britney Spears and any of her slights, be they real or imagined. After finding out she's hiding from the paparazzi in town, the boys pretend to be her sons, because she does have several sons, and sneak into her motel room. Oh, good thing I have a hotel room instead, where she has a complete and total mental breakdown. One that honestly puts Linda's to shame.
I've got a better idea.
You do?
Yeah.
Because unlike Linda, she actually unalives herself.
You killed her!
Butters and Cartman run home. I don't think Kenny's in the episode. Afterwards, Stan and Kyle, overcome with grief, go to make it up to Britney, only to find that she looks like a chicken with no head.
Oh my god! Oh no!
The boys are just shocked at how good you look, Britney. Right, boys?
Oh, how beautiful. Despite this, the paparazzi refuses to leave Britney alone, nor do they listen to Kyle and Stan's protests. Protests? The boys think Britney will only be free if she is able to get to the North Pole via a train. Oh my god, imagine how much Amtrak would charge for that. In truth, there turns out to be a reason why Britney is so hated, and the entire world is in on it.
Sacrifice in March, corn have plenty starch.
Corn harvest.
Yeah, you heard that right. According to the adults,
We Americans like to think we're more civilized now, but the truth is our lust for torture and death is no different than it was in gladiator times.
makes sense. Oh, I actually kind of hope that doesn't explain Amanda Bynes. And why do we keep saying actually? Outnumbered, the boys allowed the adults, and pretty much every character up to this point, seriously, it's like a Where's Waldo game, to take pictures of Britney until she expires.
Hold on. She's dead.
Well, I think it's time for us to leave the poor girl alone.
Oh god, watching this episode live with the flash and everything, I don't have like epilepsy or anything, but my eyeballs. While this episode was admired by South Park fans and even several critics, apparently Britney Spears, the real Britney Spears, wasn't as happy with how the show portrayed her. Now, Britney is no stranger to being made fun of. She loves Family Guy in spite of the fact that they've made fun of her repeatedly.
I know. Oh, the gift basket was not worth the trip, not by a long shot.
Rumor has it she even tried to reach out to Seth MacFarlane and wanted to know if he was willing to write a Family Guy episode making fun of South Park. Seth, who knows that Matt and Trey aren't his biggest fans, I mean, it's not like there was a two-parter where they said Family Guy had such piss-poor writing that manatees could write a better episode, refused her request. The reason Britney is so low on the list is because of something called hindsight. Not Captain Hindsight. Back in the early to mid 2000s, Britney was known as a crazy party girl who did insane things like shave her head, and the media did her mental health no favors, making fun of her for destroying her own life and basically kicking a poor woman when she was down. Nowadays, we all pity her. Arguably, Matt and Trey were one of the first. It's sad to say the creators of South Park were more sympathetic than most people. In 2021, through the Free Britney movement, we learned that Britney's life for over 10 years was worse than we could have imagined. She lost much of her individuality and even her bodily autonomy, being stuck in a conservatorship under the control of her father. She was made to perform against her will, and if she didn't, she was drugged with lithium, or she would lose access to her sons. She was even forced to have an IUD implanted. Because of this, I don't know for certain if Britney herself did like the episode, but was told by her handlers to act like it was a personal attack, considering how Family Guy, again, did this.
I gotta get that. I'll talk to you later.
Or if she did like some of what the episode said, but maybe thought, oh, they hit the nail on the head. Anyhow, it's fun to wonder. Kind of.
Yes, I'm sure you agree, darling. We can be the people we talked about being. What matters is what we have on the inside. Hello?
Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Oh god, I so don't want to do this section. I even thought about making it an honorable mention, or even giving them their own video. But would you believe me if I told you it was so hard finding an extra celebrity? I so wanted to talk about Caitlyn Jenner, but she's never personally come out and said her opinion on the show. And Sarah Jessica Parker, I thought about it, but it was a quick comment, that's all. So, unfortunately, Meghan and Harry won out. You can do this, kitty. You can do this. You're like a tiger. Crouching dragon, hidden tiger. Still, you all know I was waiting for this episode for years. And the reason is because I'm an aristocracy nerd. It comes with the territory of being an English major. Please make a movie on Marie Antoinette's sister, Maria Amalia, or even her mother, or John Conroy. Anyhow, I was excited when the Worldwide Privacy Tour came out. I do enjoy Meghan and Harry, even if I will admit sometimes they can seem a little tone deaf.
So you hate journalists? That's right. And now you wrote a book that reports on the lives of the royal family. Right. So you're a journalist.
But I do admire them, and if I had the money, which I don't, I would copy Meghan's wardrobe. Because it's all black. I love black. Wait, I'm getting off track. Can't get off track. The Worldwide Privacy Tour focuses on Meghan and Harry, who are in the South Park universe, the Prince and Princess of Canada. Oh, okay, I'm guessing the prince we saw in Royal Pudding is now in charge. Meghan and Harry want their privacy and leave the monarchy to get it, and the world is happy to give it to them. Too bad they fail to realize it, complaining about their lack of privacy whenever possible.
We want privacy! We want privacy! All right, thanks for having us on the show.
Sorry, it's kind of funny. Wanting even more privacy than they already have, after the titular tour, they move to South Park and make life hell for Kyle. I mean, come on. First he had to deal with Cartman, and then Cartman moved to the hot dog stand, and now he has to deal with them.
We are here because privacy is a basic human right. How many more princes and his wives have to live in this nightmare?
While many people thought this episode was hilarious, allegedly, because this is Meghan and Harry, we don't know how true it is, they did not think the same. They saw it as a personal attack. They were annoyed by it, and apparently even looked into suing the creators for what they did. Again, depending on who you ask. Personally, I don't believe the lawsuit theory. The show didn't spread lies, stalk them, or directly threaten them, or tell people to do it. There's no grounds for a lawsuit. Meanwhile, a spokesperson, said they had no plans, and if they were fine with the prince, I can imagine them being fine with this. Now, part of me gets it. Outside of briefly making fun of Queen Elizabeth's death, the episode's pretty one-sided. And while they are a teensy bit sympathetic to Harry, while also portraying him as a whiny man-child.
But you say your life has been hard, and now you've written all about it in your new book, Where?
No, I didn't laugh at that. They don't hold back with their ridicule of Meghan. Like, I'm sorry, the part where Kyle comes out and there's all those pictures was the funniest part of the episode for me. Only problem I had is I wish they did a little more with the actual royal family, because that is ripe for ridicule. Like, oh hey guy, the royal family is racist. No shit, Sherlock. Or they could make the point that the pair, if they thought it was right, were right to leave the royal family, but their wantings of privacy aren't doing them any favors. Which I think they kind of do during the cafeteria scene. But I'm rambling, so let's move on to number 8.
This my scar, 'cause I got a pig heart. My scar makes me sassy, child.
Mama June and Honey Boo Boo, raising the bar. This episode is actually one of my all-time favorites, but as a critic, I am not allowed to use personal biases, even if that's part of my job. Here Comes Honey Boo Boo was a reality show that aired on TLC and focused on Elena Thompson, better known as child pageant queen Honey Boo Boo, and her crazy family. Especially her mother, June, aka Mama June. First off, I've never watched Honey Boo Boo outside of 1 or 2 episodes in the background, but the show, to get it out of the way, was one of those point-and-laugh reality shows.
What if Honey Boo Boo was a little black girl, being fattened up by her mom and talking about grits and hominy?
But she's not black, Kyle. She's white.
It seems as though TLC can never have a reality show without any bit of controversy. In 2014, June started dating a man named Mark Anthony McDaniel, who spent 10 years in prison for assaulting children. While that would already be worrying enough, it came to light that one of McDaniel's victims was Anna Chickadee Cardwell, June's eldest daughter. This caused the show to be cancelled, the family to lose royalty from syndication, and a 5th season worth of episodes to remain unaired. Sorry, I'm prattling, I'm just trying to set you up for what's coming. Raising the Bar aired in 2012, during the height of Honey Boo Boo's popularity. Cartman gains a few extra pounds in order to get his insurance to buy him a mobility scooter. Token sees potential in Cartman eating himself into an early grave and records a reality show making fun of him, disguised as a documentary, basically TLC without the TLC logo, until Cartman learns he was beat out in the ratings by Honey Boo Boo.
Nobody beats my ratings. Give me a plane ticket.
At first, this episode was just supposed to make fun of fat people on Rascals, but Honey Boo Boo beat South Park in the ratings department, much like she did here. So for Matt and Trey, this time it was personal. They ridicule Honey Boo Boo and June as shameless white trash who parade themselves on TV and use their weight as an excuse to be as low-life as possible. At one point, Honey Boo Boo's heart goes out from eating nothing but sketty and butter. Honey Boo Boo also gets to sketty wrestle against Cartman at a fundraiser hosted by Michelle Obama. Thanks to untold deeds of James Cameron, the bravest pioneer, we learn Honey Boo Boo is so accepted because the bar lowered. It's only by him literally raising it does June see the light.
How can you let this happen to your daughter?
I don't know. How did I let myself go like this? What have I done?
Well, James Cameron came forward and said he loved his betrayal. I mean, considering nowadays. During an interview with TMZ, June told them she wasn't a big fan of the show to start with, and she wasn't a fan of their portrayal of the family, compared to SNL, a portrayal she did like. June said she found this episode to be in poor taste. That show is not a show that I would want to be on to begin with, and the previews looked like it would be okay. But just the way they portrayed the show, it was kinda trashy. I guess it doesn't matter to the crew. For this episode, they won another Emmy. Good job, South Park. Now, if only you could make an episode about Josh Duggar.
You can all see for yourself how beautiful she is, but she can't be here because she has a movie coming out on Friday, directed by Peter Jackson, called The Hobbit.
Kim Kardashian. This one is several episodes, so I'm just gonna include as many as I can. South Park has been no stranger to making fun of the Kardashian family. Caitlyn Jenner was a recurring character for 2 seasons. They've made fun of Kanye several times, especially in the most recent season to air, and this began all the way back in The Tale. Just called The Tale. Butters loves watching the Kardashians, commenting,
Kim Kardashian is so sexy. Her butt is like a big mountain of pudding.
The episode in question deals with the topic of people who look too deeply into literature and see things that aren't there. The boys write the worst novel known to man and pin the blame on Butters, who ends up receiving all the fame and glory the boys wanted. Later on, he writes a follow-up novel. At first, it's popular, until somebody takes the wrong message and goes to kill the Kardashians, because they're phonies, and he can't do it to Reagan or John Lennon. Wait, all 3 of those last names sound the same. Clearly this was intentional, and the episode was a commentary on the socio-economic wealth of third world stray cats wandering the streets of Miami. This causes Butters to become reviled, and he's back to square one. After the episode aired, all 3 Kardashian sisters took to social media to say how proud they were of their betrayal. We were all dying when we saw this clip from South Park that aired last night. Literally, LOL. They killed us all. I managed to survive the longest, of course. How rude, South Park. Even though we weren't all portrayed as the most attractive South Park characters, I was still so flattered since I love that show, haha. You might be thinking, oh Kitty, this section is a waste of time. Clearly they don't mind being made fun of. Don't worry, it's not. Remember The Hobbit? Not the overly bloated trilogy or the kids' book, but the South Park episode? Despite being about Kim, she never physically appears, and this is important. Wendy meets Lisa Berger, a fellow cheerleader with bad self-image. Wendy suggests one way to help her self-esteem is to ask out her crush, Butters. But Butters rejects her because Lisa isn't his dream woman. Who is it? Kim Kardashian, because clearly Kim is interested in a 10-year-old boy.
I want a woman who takes care of herself and knows how to look good. Who's got perfect skin and no splotches on her legs and perfect everything.
Wendy tries to explain to him that Kim is only attractive because she uses Photoshop to improve her image and compares her to a hobbit, which leads into a whole debate about the merits of Photoshop and whether or not Wendy is making a good point or that she's jealous that Kim is well liked and she's not. This episode holds back no punches when it comes to making fun of Kim. At one point, even her own fiance, Aquaman, says she's not a decent human being without Photoshop.
Or be a decent human being like Beyonce. The little hobbit was looked up to and loved, just like Beyonce.
Constantly, he'll call her up for argument ammo and make things 10 times worse, especially when he interrupts the Pope during the Person of the Year award to tell everybody,
Keeping Up with the Kardashians, which is a show about short, loud little people living in a fantasy world. Hold up. If you're the hobbit, you need to let me know right now because I'm making a fool of myself out here.
Kim did not like this episode one bit. With a source telling the media, Kim is livid with what the guys from South Park did. She has found nothing to laugh about with what the show did and considers it an unnecessary attack. The only thing she is happy about is they didn't make fun of North. North is her eldest child, if you're unaware.
She's a little overweight, but that's pretty normal for a girl in the 4th grade. Well, Kim Kardashian is skinny and she just had a baby. What?
Kinda makes me wonder what they thought about Stunning and Brave. Maybe they hated it and knew well enough this time to keep their mouth shut. Maybe they swore off South Park, who knows? A riddle for the ages.
Evolution explains everything! And God's a spaghetti monster! Thank you, Richard!
You're so welcome.
Richard Dawkins. Go God, go. Oh God, where do I start? There was a Family Guy episode where Brian dated another atheist because they both like Richard Dawkins' book, The God Delusion, which acts as a summary for his atheist beliefs. Despite the fact Jesus is friends with Brian and Peter, he's known deaf, and a bunch of other stuff I could name but don't have the time to. In South Park, Richard Dawkins is still making rounds. Mrs. Garrison is told by the school that she has to teach evolution, but she refuses because evolution is a theory, even though it's somehow both a fact and a theory. I don't know, that's just what scientists say.
Evolution is a theory. A harebrained theory that says I'm a monkey. I'm not a monkey!
You realize evolution has been pretty much, proven.
And after a terrible lecture that shall live in hilarious infamy, Principal Victoria tells Garrison that while she's still employed, she can no longer teach evolution. The job will be handed off to Richard Dawkins. Dawkins does a much better and informative job than Garrison, who keeps causing incidents. As she is about to either be fired or demoted, Dawkins vouches for her, and later wants to know if she'll go out with him to dinner. There, Dawkins converts Garrison to atheism, and they roughly consummate their union. Garrison sees potential in Dawkins, and says that with his beliefs and her stubbornness, they can create a world without religion, which will solve all of our problems.
I wasn't talking about spaghetti.
Come on, you're gonna have to sit in the dunce chair.
Centuries later, they succeed. The only thing people fight wars about is the great question. What will they call their atheist society? Too bad Cartman unwittingly saves the future, calling Dawkins in the past and telling him that Garrison had surgery.
Uh-oh. Oh! You're a man? Not anymore, I've been fixed!
Something you need to know is Dawkins hated how South Park portrayed him, absolutely and completely. All because he spent a good chunk of his screen time boning a post-transition Garrison. And he had a horrible British accent. After listening to the West End recording of Heathers, I get that part. Dawkins is quoted as saying, "I'm buggered if I like being portrayed as a cartoon character buggering a bald transvestite. I wouldn't have minded so much if only it had been in the service of some serious point." Really? But if there was a serious point in there, I couldn't discern it. He later said in 2012 that isn't satire, because it has nothing to do with what I stand for. In the point where they had somebody throwing which stuck to my forehead, that's not even funny. Out of spite, apparently, he voiced himself in The Simpsons in a super minor cameo, all because of how he was portrayed here.
Down here we worship famous atheist Richard Dawkins, author of The God Delusion.
I'm making Catholic saint stew.
The only good thing he said was he liked the various atheist leagues fighting amongst each other because it reminded him of the various rebel organizations in Life of Brian, which is a really good movie that we in the States often forget about. I wonder if he knew Monty Python was a huge influence to South Park, or that Butters as Montekia was supposed to reference that movie. I think what makes it more ironic is in 2021, Richard Dawkins lost his 1996 honor of Humanist of the Year because of comments he made in defense of Rachel Dolezal, a woman born to white parents who self-identifies as black. Seriously, why hasn't South Park ever made fun of her? That would be an awesome Cartman episode. The tweet reads, in 2015, Rachel Dolezal, a white chapter president of NAACP, was vilified for identifying as black. Some men choose to identify as women, and some women choose to identify as man. You will be vilified if you deny that they literally are what they identify as. Discuss. I don't know. Let's move on.
Food is extremely scarce.
Doesn't look like she's having any trouble finding food. Yeah, she's fatter than Cartman. Yeah, hi!
Sally Struthers, Starvin' Marvin. Whatever happened to Sally Struthers? I haven't heard from her in years. Oh. If you were around in the 90s and not an infant like me, you might remember an actress named Sally Struthers, who is best known as Gloria from All in the Family and Charlene on Dinosaurs. She did commercials for an organization called the Christian Children's Fund, which assisted children who lived in impoverished countries, and South Park saw fit to make fun of her, especially the irony of an overweight woman begging for food for starving kids. To be fair, they were not the first. In Living Color did a sketch of Sally Struthers, kinda similar to what Matt and Trey are doing here. In the episode Starvin' Marvin, the boys watch one of Sally's commercials and learn if they donate, they'll get a free watch. Unfortunately, in the confusion, they're sent Starvin' Marvin from Ethiopia. A series of unfortunate events later, and Cartman ends up at Starvin' Marvin's home with a certain lack of food.
So now we've got to pack it up.
But I'm not a starving Ethiopian. I have to get back home too.
Sorry, dude. We just don't have any funds.
Cartman, don't worry. They say that at first, your body eats up all the fat reserves. You'll survive. Eventually, he makes it to the Red Cross, which is crawling with snacky cakes, and then he comes upon...
Sally Struthers? Give me that cake!
No, this is my cake!
Sally Struthers, give me that cake!
In truth, it turns out that Sally Struthers is to blame for the famine in Africa, as she's using her connections with charitable organizations to hoard as much free food as possible. A hungry Cartman rats her out, and the natives turn on her, and they do this. If it makes you feel any better, originally the natives were gonna eat her, but the network would not allow it. Nowadays, I think they probably would. This episode is pretty funny, but there was somebody who hated it. Sally Struthers herself. Apparently, Sally was a fan of the show until this episode, and was emotional after it aired. Now, to get something out of the way, Matt and Trey don't really mind most of the celebrities they make fun of, especially in the earlier seasons. They had nothing against Sally Struthers. During the DVD commentary, they felt right to say, dude, you're really setting yourself up if you're going to be that fat and go on the air talking about starving children. We don't think she's a bad person. She's probably nice to try to do this, but cut down on the Twinkies a little bit before going on the air. A reason this episode is so high is because of Matt and Trey's response. Come on, we all know they let nothing go, except global warming. When they eventually produced a sequel episode to Starvin' Marvin in Space, Sally Struthers came back, like this.
Tell us about the Ethiopian boy.
Monaco!
In the death of Eric Cartman, Cartman gave her a fruit basket as an apology. Granted, Cartman only did it to get into heaven. At least he did something.
What the hell is that?
My name is Jennifer Lopez, and I like tacos and burritos.
That's what replaced me?
Jennifer Lopez, Fat Bud, and Pancake Head. Is the title a joke on Beavis and Butthead? Anyway, have you ever heard about Bennifer, the famed Hollywood starlet couple of Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck? I wasn't around for it until they got back together. All I knew about Jennifer Lopez was she was friends with Leia Remini, or they still are, I don't know, and she was with some dude named Mark Anthony, albeit not the one who dated Cleopatra, thank goodness. This is another one of my favorite episodes, and I simply jump at the chance to finally talk about it. South Park Elementary is trying to win money from the Latino Endowment Fund, and Kyle gives an informative speech about the benefits Latinos have brought to technology, only for Cartman to upstage him and give a speech of his own, with Jennifer Lopez, not the Jennifer Lopez, but Jennifer Lopez, who eats tacos and burritos.
Oh, you're Jennifer Lopez. Jennifer Lopez. No, Jennifer Lopez. Jennifer Lopez.
Fun fact, the real Jennifer Lopez is Puerto Rican.
I don't come from no Mexico. I'm Puerto Rican.
I wonder if she knows some Puerto Rican guy, because I don't know him. He's so rude. The organization loves the performance, which makes sense. Us Latinos have an impeccable sense of humor. Cartman wins a gift card and keeps up the act as Jennifer Lopez, culminating in shooting a video at the mall. This gets the attention of some music producers, who make Jennifer Lopez famous. Too bad that Jennifer Lopez, who in the world of South Park is a raging mean girl with a butt as big as a grande tortilla, is now out of a job.
Shut up!
What?
Quaquita, calm down. Something tells me the producers wanted to be rid of her for a while. Jennifer Lopez travels to beat up Cartman, and she also trash talks Jennifer Lopez. And Ben Affleck falls in love with Jennifer Lopez, even if he's supposed to be with Jennifer Lopez. Get that? Well, Jennifer Lopez sings a song about how Ben is so perfect and makes her forget all about tacos. Unfortunately, we all know Cartman could likely be diagnosed with multiple personality disorder. For some reason, he doesn't stop playing as Jennifer Lopez or acting like she's her own separate entity, even after Ben Affleck starts dating his hand and getting engaged to it, after Jennifer Lopez tries to kill him with a chainsaw, and after he now has a commitment to the music industry, he does not stop. The episode does make it ambiguous if he's playing or not, but considering episodes like 1% exist, I think honestly he doesn't know what he's doing, or he's just that committed. Realizing whatever he does, he's damned, Jennifer Lopez reveals the truth.
It was all a lie. A lie I cannot continue anymore. I am not Jennifer Lopez. I am Mitch Connor.
Wow, what a twist. As for Jennifer Lopez, she gets arrested and with her career in the toilet is forced to work at a taco store, which is the worst place to keep a toilet.
How the f*** did I end up working at a La Taco? I had 6 platinum records and I starred in 5 Hollywood movies.
Yeah, me too.
No, well, I don't know how Ben Affleck handled this episode. I know Jennifer Lopez hated it. Apparently, when the episode aired, if you were in her vicinity and you were caught singing the taco song, she would fire you. That's why it's so high up, it just seems so ridiculous. As for Ben Affleck, I'll go out on a limb and say he probably doesn't mind. He hasn't directly commented on it, and I think if he didn't like it, he probably would have said something. Besides, he brings light into my life, and he makes me forget all about tacos. Okay, we're moving on, I'm sorry.
But it's me, Satan, Steve Irwin. I am the crocodile hunter.
Oh, but then, dude, no costume. Sorry, you gotta go.
Wait, I thought we were friends!
Steve Irwin, Hell on Earth 2006. This case is unique because the controversy happened after the celebrity had died. Long ago, in the fictional faraway land of Australia, there lived a man named Steve Irwin, aka the Crocodile Hunter. I can't do an Australian accent, I'm sorry. He got famous through a show on Animal Planet, The Crocodile Hunter, which saw him and his wife Terry deal with alligators, usually for the Australia Zoo in Queensland. Is Animal Planet still around? Steve used his show in order to further conservation efforts. Steve Irwin was so popular that when Queen Elizabeth died in 2022, many Australians wanted his picture on the money, not Charles's. I'm not even joking. He is one of Australia's crown jewels, along with Michael Cusack. That was until 2006. On September 4th, 2006, Steve Irwin died at 44 while filming a nature documentary. While swimming, he was stung by a stingray, which had punctured his heart, and he died of blood loss. Believe it or not, getting stung in such a manner is super rare. A little over a month later, on October 25th, the South Park episode Hell on Earth 2006 aired. The episode saw Satan decide that as Halloween was a night of evil and darkness, he deserves a party. And to make it happen, he'll rent out the entire W Hotel for an awesome night on the town. However, he becomes like one of those rich, spoiled teenage girls on MTV who holds massive Sweet 16 parties, and he only really invites celebrities. At the party, Satan learns that one of the guests is dressed up as Steve Irwin and goes to give him a few choice words.
Hey, hi, listen, dude. The whole crocodile hunter thing, it's just a little soon, I mean, he just died a few weeks ago and...
Something you need to know is this is not the first time South Park has made fun of him. In Prehistoric Iceman, they watched one of his shows, and it led to them finding the titular character.
Next week, we'll look for more of these beautiful creatures so we can learn more about them by pissing them off immensely. Thanks for watching.
Here, the problem came down to timing. Terry, who was now Steve's widow, did not like they were supposedly making fun of her husband, and this led to a bit of a media circus. A friend of hers was quoted as saying, "Terry is devastated Steve is being mocked in such a cruel way. Her worry is that Bindi and Bob will see it and break down. Steve had as big a sense of humor as anyone, but this goes too far, too soon." These comments got the episode into hot water. John Bayer of the Media Watch UK, think of it like the UK version of the Parents Television Council, said he thought the episode was in poor taste. Steve's colleague, Mark Amy, said the episode was distasteful and the episode wasn't allowed to air in Australia for at least 12 months, but apparently it had nothing to do with this. In fact, it got to be such a big deal that Comedy Central had to step in and defend the crew, saying, "The South Park guys do inappropriate things all the time. Their goal is to make people laugh, not to offend people. South Park has offended people in the past and probably will again. Regular watchers would not be shocked." But I'd argue they weren't saying, haha, Steve Irwin's dead. I mean, even Satan was disgusted by what he thought was a costume, complete with a stingray. That's like dressing up like JFK with a bullet on your forehead on November 23rd, 1963. The only reason Satan kicked Steve out of the party was because he was starting to act like a brat. I'm assuming at the end of the episode, when Satan let people in regardless of wristband, that Steve just went back to the party. Don't forget, there's also a lack of context. Remember, in South Park, everybody goes to hell, even the good people. It's not a place of eternal torture. Because you want to know the real place of eternal torture? Detroit. No offense, Detroit.
Hey, no wonder that Barbra Streisand lady wanted it.
Who is that?
Oh, just this really, really old lady who wishes she was still only 45. Yeah, and you should have seen her nose. It was big enough to land stealth bombers on.
Barbra Streisand in Mecha Streisand. Oh boy, you knew this was coming. Trust me, this was always going to be somewhere on this list. I just couldn't decide where. But first, let's give you some background. Barbra Streisand is one of the most noted celebrities of the 20th century, especially for her musical performances. Before Leia stole Funny Girl from Beanie, Barbra was the original Funny Girl, and also Dolly Levi, and Yentl. Yes, her name was Yentl. And just so you know, Matt and Trey hate her for a variety of reasons. They don't like her singing, and they don't like her idea of activism. In 1992, Colorado passed Amendment 2, which refused to acknowledge the LGBT community as a protected class, while the Supreme Court struck down the law in 1996. For Barbra, the damage was done. She came out and said that because of this new law, she found Colorado to be a state full of hicks, and vowed to never come back. Wow. That's why they don't like her? Damn. The episode Meghan Streisand focuses on Barbra coming to town in order to find the mythical Triangle of Zinfar, which the boys have already located. If Barbra takes the triangle, she can combine it with several other artifacts and create the Diamond of Pantheos, which will turn her into the worst creature of all, capable of world domination. Barbra Streisand, or Meghan Streisand for short. There we find that everybody in town hates her for one reason or another, including Officer Barb Brady.
Well,
what?
you know who I am, don't you?
Well, you ain't Fiona Apple.
She's got her feet on the ground and she doesn't sleep to dream. Only person who likes her even remotely is Sheila.
I hate to ask this, but could I get an autograph? My sister would die! Oh, thank you, Miss Streisand!
Upon capturing the boys, Barbra tries to get the truth out of them by torturing them through a method worse than waterboarding with Dr. Pepper.
You asked for it! I'm gonna tell you now.
My ears. The torture works, and Barbra turns into Meghan Streisand, like something out of a cheesy kaiju movie. She travels around South Park and destroys everything. It only takes the combined efforts of Leonard Maltin, Sidney Poitier, RIP, and most importantly, Robert the Smith of The Cure, who all transform into giant kaiju to take her on. The reason this is number 2 is because of what happened after it aired. It started one of the most infamous beefs in cartoon history. Meghan Streisand became a standout of the early seasons. Trust me, people I know who don't like South Park say this is like the one episode they've actually watched. But the person who hated it, Barbra herself. Heck, even Leonard Maltin loved it. During an interview with Mirabella magazine, Barbra complained, "I wasn't even aware of the show until I read in Time magazine that they had used me in a very negative way. Let me say that I enjoy satire and parody, and I loved the movie in and out. It made me laugh. It wasn't mean-spirited. But I wonder if shows like South Park and Beavis and Butthead don't add to the cynicism and negativity in our culture, especially in children. These youngsters are formulating their attitudes, and maybe they could come away feeling that any woman who dares to accomplish something is the incarnation of self-centeredness and greed, and that would be very unfortunate, especially for young girls. Ladies, speak for yourself. I'm a woman and I love both of those shows. They make me bust a gut. Plus, from what I hear, you are not such a hot piece of yourself. As a result, Matt and Trey, as we all know, doubled down. Way more than they did with Sally Struthers, because just the fact they managed to get under Barbra's skin made them feel awesome, and I kind of understand that. It sucks they couldn't do the same with Paris Hilton. In Spooky Fish, her face is used as part of the spooky vision, because it's the most scariest thing possible.
The following program is brought to you in Spooky Vision. Be warned, all scenes will be accompanied by pictures of Barbra Streisand.
In the movie, her name is the worst curse known to man. More than the C word? During the 200 two-parter, they brought Barbra back in a new form with an awesome rockin' song. And speaking of 200, I guess it's time for number 1.
Dad! Tom Cruise won't come out of the closet!
What?
Tom Cruise locked himself in my closet and he won't come out.
Tom Cruise trapped in the closet. Yep, it's this guy. Tom Cruise is number 1. Why not Barbara? Well, let's discuss. Tom Cruise is a well-known actor worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Currently, he's best known for his roles in the Mission Impossible movies, but many people, because of PR, often forget about his association with the Church of Scientology. David Miscavige, the church's head, was his best man at his wedding to Katie Holmes, and the church even held auditions to find him a new girlfriend, and part of this culminated in the episode Trapped in the Closet, which was one of the first big things to comment on Scientology. Stan is told by the Church of Scientology that he's miserable, and to help, he starts to take audit counseling, only for his first session to reveal his OT score is so high that he's possibly the reincarnation of L. Ron Hubbard, the church's founder. All of Scientology considers him a prophet, and are delighted at the second coming, including Tom Cruise.
Oh, this is the greatest day of my life.
Dude, I need to go to bed.
Don't you understand, Elron? It's me, Tom Cruise.
Only for Stan to say he doesn't like his movies.
You're not Gene Hackman or that guy that played Napoleon Dynamite, but you're okay.
I'm nothing. I'm a failure in the eyes of the prophet.
Out of sadness, Tom Cruise locks himself in the closet.
Dude, this is my room.
Go away, I said!
Tom, please come out of the closet.
Just leave me alone!
Tom, I got cookies outside the closet.
I'm not gonna think any differently of you. Katie's not gonna think any differently of you. You don't need to be in that closet anymore, Tom.
Tom, what if I bring Katie outside of the closet? Will you come out then? Later, he's joined by John Travolta and R. Kelly. Oh, poor man. After Stan tries to tell the gathered Scientologist that their church is a scam, Tom comes out and threatens to sue him.
So you're not the prophet, huh? You made me look stupid. I'm gonna sue you too.
Well, fine. Go ahead and sue me.
I will. I'll sue you in England.
The reason this is number 1 is because of what happened next, because it puts everything else to shame. Many people remember how this episode got Isaac Hayes, the voice of Chef, to supposedly quit the show because they mocked his religion. Only that's a bigger can of worms, so watch my Chef video on why. However, many people forget about the other controversies that resulted from this episode, and infamously became known as Closetgate. Apparently, Tom Cruise has a history of suing people or threatening to do so if they make jokes about what goes on in his bedroom, and the whole episode was just one big joke. Trapped in the Closet aired on November 16th, 2005. On March 15th, 2006, they were going to rerun this episode, but at the last minute, it was replaced with a rerun of Chef's Chocolate Salty Balls, allegedly because this was several days after Isaac Hayes quit the show, and the network wanted to wish him goodbye. Okay, understandable. However, several major news organizations reported how the real reason it was pulled was because Tom Cruise was trying to promote Mission Impossible 3. The series is distributed by Paramount Pictures, which is a sister company of Comedy Central. Apparently, Tom Cruise said if the episode aired, he would drop out of promoting it. In response, South Park fans boycotted Mission Impossible, and Matt and Trey wrote a strongly worded letter, signing their names as the Servants of the Dark Lord Xenu. Did you know that Miscavige's niece, she said this episode was the first time she learned about the church's backstory, Xenu and all that, and she was born into it. That tells you all you need to know. In April of that same year, Tom Cruise sat down for an interview saying, "First of all, could you ever imagine sitting down with anyone? I would never sit down with someone and question them on their beliefs. Here's the thing, I'm really not even going to dignify this. I honestly didn't really even know about it. I'm working, making my movie. I've got my family. I'm busy. I don't spend my days going, what are people saying about me?" Finally, on July 19th, 2006, Comedy Central re-aired the episode. Now, some people have said that Tom Cruise came pretty close to suing the creators, but outside of rumors, I can't really find any source on it. Maybe they were worried that Tom was gonna do this. Maybe it was a big miscommunication, who knows. Regardless, Matt and Trey were told that they were not allowed to comment on the situation, and that must have sucked for them. What makes this episode number 1 was the reaction of the church itself. Well, besides forcing Isaac Hayes to quit. Apparently, the church looked into ways to get back at the creators for writing this episode. Have you ever heard of the practice of fair game that Scientologists do? Well, the church spied on the duo, stalked them, and did the same to some of their old friends and colleagues. They rooted through their trash, their phone records, their bank accounts, even their airline reservations, trying as hard as they could to come up with some kind of dirt. They tried to hire a film student to infiltrate South Park Studios as an intern and act as a mole. And as for the studio, they looked into the caterers, their parking spaces, even their cars. To their shock, Scientology couldn't find anything worthy of blackmail because the pair had normal lives, and that's actually kind of shocking. However, South Park would eventually bring back Tom Cruise in the episode 200 and 201. Tom Cruise is now working at a chocolate factory, and he's called a fudge packer because it's not like that's his job.
Dude, you are in a fudge factory packing fudge.
Oh, that does it. I will sue you!
For what?
You can't just call somebody a fudge packer and get away with it!
In this world, his ego is thinner than a piece of plastic wrap, so he and a bunch of other celebrities, especially Rob Reiner, start a class action lawsuit against the town for making fun of him. Thankfully, by the next episode, Tom Cruise can indeed be made fun of, and he's stuck on the moon, along with Wilsiak.